So I guess we're gonna hop right into our manga section here.
Uh-huh.
So let's see, what should we start with this week?
Honestly, in all honesty, I think we should start with
Fairy Tale.
Fairy Tale, yes.
Start with the
'Cause
bullshit first.
honestly, if there was a legitimate explanation as to how she was able to do that, it would have been a extremely badass chapter, and it probably would have gotten a at least good plus.
Yeah.
But because it's just a simple he literally knows that she's been winning, beat her fights through sheer bullshit, and he just outright said it this time.
Yep.
It's because she's Urza. Now, as the review, as for Neverworld said, he hopes, as right now is BS, but he hopes that there's, gonna explain it later, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
No. I think Happy's explanation is probably the actual explanation of what
you know what it is? He probably hasn't even come up with a reason yet. Like, he probably hasn't come up with a legit reason as why she's so good.
Probably.
Or he's saving it for something later on, which would make no sense because we already got our Urza specific arc early on.
Right.
So it's like, well, what else are we going to learn about her?
Yeah.
Who knows? But
something didn't really make a lot of sense was, like, although it was technically, like, not in Erza's favor, it was actually the opposite, where she lost her sense of touch, but apparently she could feel pain, which was, to me, was odd.
Well, you don't necessarily have to, it is weird, but it's, based on the fact of everything that's going on, I mean, is that really your biggest concern?
No, it's odd because it's, like, not something that favors her. Actually, it's something that's against her, so it's like, okay.
So, anyway, but honestly, the only thing that prevents them from being, like, at least for me, at a completely horrific chapter, because I'm going to give it a subpar, mainly because of the ending, of how Minerva came in, stole Urza's sword, and just impaled this chick. And was like, cool. But of course, it was too late. Time went up. So, like I said, because the ending is the main reason is why I'm giving it a subpar. And that's not just the Minerva stuff, but the fact that, the hype for what's going to happen next week.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, because for those two reasons alone, I give it a subpar.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that this isn't a cop-out where the 0-0, and it turns out that it really was stopped. But,
No. If they were going to do that, they were going to do the stupid they would do it in the cliche way. And you know what the cliche way is.
Yep.
It stops at 1 second.
Yep.
Because since it doesn't have the, like, milliseconds listed as well, they're not going to do, like, less than a second.
Right.
So, yeah. I wanted to because then that would mean that we'd finally maybe move on to this whole Lumen History thing because I'm assuming that's going to play a like I said, I'm pretty sure many people have said before that it's going to be a factor into how, we get their magic back.
Uh-huh.
But it obviously has to do something else, but for now, all we can do is speculate.
Uh-huh.
So, alright,
shit chapter.
Yeah, not really that good. So, now I think the next one I want to talk about is, One Piece.
Yeah.
Because, let's see. Because One Piece is chapter I thought was pretty interesting. Getting to see through a you know, what basically, I don't know. Where do you think we should talk about the chapter first? I always seem to start
I'd say the beginning where we start to see Doflamingo's past, where he and his brother, who we find out his name is Rocinate or Rakinate or something like that, and his father are being like hung up, like because they're a celestial dragon family.
Well, that is definitely effed up.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, well, just imagine all the effed up stuff they did to people while they were still tenryubitos.
Right. Exactly.
But now that, of course, we got, Doflamingo wakes up and once again he teases us about possibly seeing his face, but before we have a chance to see his face, he gets up and puts his stuff on.
So it looks like we see one eye of him, like before he wakes up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's his eye. It looks normal.
Honestly, I think Oda's trolling us. He knows that we want to see what his eyes look like, and when he does reveal it to us, when Luffy knocks his glasses off in the fight, he's going to just have normal-looking eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a big troll, because everyone made a big deal out of it for nothing.
Right.
But the next thing I guess we should talk about is I think the major thing that really stands out, just in case for those of you who don't know, is Tralafaga D Watel or water, whichever translation, law.
It's water law. I'll tell you right now why. It's because it's actually a pun on Waterloo, because Trafalgar was actually I believe it was a place or a name that refers to the Waterloo, where
Napoleon had it.
Yeah, Napoleon lost all his ships, and the opposite lost none. And of course, I hear in Belgian, the pronunciation is closer to like Waterloo, so it sounds more like that instead of Waterloo. So that comes from Manga Stream's blog. If you look at that.
So, but anyway, the important thing isn't the fact that he has a middle name of Water. It's the fact that he has the D. Law now suddenly is important character again. Because just in case you didn't think he was important, he wasn't going to last too much longer. He has a D, so that automatically means he's going to be important later down the road. I mean, so far the only D that's died is Ace. So, and at this point, Law, despite all the fanboying of Bartolomeo, Law seems to be, Luffy's biggest supporter. Despite, because he's doing everything Law has done since he's introduced himself has seemingly been done in support of Luffy.
Yep.
So it's like, and now, and once people, some people are going to be like, oh, that means Trafalgar Law for, next Straw Hat. No! We discussed this. I'm just pretty sure I've said this with Bartolomeo. To you, I don't know necessarily if we talked about it on this podcast, but they have their own crew members. They have their own crews. They're not going to just toss away their crew to join Luffy's crew. It's going to be like with Whitebeard. When Luffy becomes they're going to be allies.
Yeah, probably. However, what would you say if Trafalgar Law was the next Straw Hat and it came in this arc?
I mean, that would be kind of weird, because how would he deal with his crew?
Well, I'll tell you what, I would not be complaining.
I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't be complaining. I'm just saying, how would he deal with his crew? Would he say, "Oh, you're Straw Hats now too," or he's gonna just outright abandon his crew?
That's the tough part, obviously. But it's always a chance of them dying.
Unless unless, now this, a stretch, I mean, not so much of a stretch, but more like, what if, since inevitably, since Law will probably survive this arc, since we now know he's a D, he's going to survive, what if, since they all have to go to Zou anyway, they go to Zou and you find out Kaido just wiped out his boys.
Right. And
then, instead of immediately, and then Law ends up joining the Straw Hats, not because, and then his crew, since his crew was eliminated, because, I mean, his crew doesn't really have any important, like, the only people you know the names of is the bear, Beppo, and the slave, which I can't remember his name.
Same.
But those are the only two you really know the names of, so, since he doesn't seem to have a very large crew of people whose names you know about, I'm basically going to say that there's a good chance that could happen, that, they go to Zou and find out his crew's been wiped out.
Right.
And so, who knows?
Yeah, it would be interesting.
That would make things much more interesting, because if you think about it, the only people right now who'd want to do that is maybe, I don't know, well, think about it. We don't know how long it will take them to get to Zou. What if, in that time, between the end of the Dressrosa arc, because they're going to sit there and recover for a couple of days before leaving, because Luffy's going to go all out. They're going to be too tired to travel, so they're going to probably sit there and wait a couple of days to heal after everything's settled down, which would give time for the news about what happened to travel. And by the time they get there, they find out that, all of Doflamingo's, or not Doflamingo, Law's boys have been, just annihilated by Kaido out of revenge.
Yes.
And maybe, not that I want this to actually happen, but this would also make sense. In turn, the Straw Hats that went to Zou ahead of time have been captured, also for revenge.
Right.
Because you can't have the reason why I say it like that is because again, you don't really know much about Law's crew, so he doesn't seem that important. His crew doesn't seem important enough to really just be outright. I mean, honestly, even if like I said, they're not really that important to the point where it wouldn't be too much of a big blow to kill everyone off on Law's crew. But since the Straw Hats are the main characters, they can't die, so you're not going to have him trying to kill both crews out of revenge. Of course, now it might seem more like, okay, Kaido goes to capture them, and in the fight to prevent themselves from being captured, Law's crew gets killed, as opposed to Luffy's crew, which doesn't get killed. So,
yeah, possibilities are definitely out there.
Yeah.
Of course, you always have to account for the party chapter after every long arc.
Well, that's what I mean by, usually recovery, is...
Yeah, they recover and then they have a party.
Where they eat a lot of food.
Yeah.
Which seems to be almost every arc now, because at least in the New World.
Yeah.
Because so for every post-time skip, after every arc, they've had a party.
Right.
Where they eat a ton of food. But I guess that's, But, let's see, what else? Is there anything else that really... Oh, yeah, the only other thing that I can really think of, at least at the top of my head, is the fact that out of nowhere, Corazon just pulls Law aside after overhearing what happened and about his name, and basically says, for lack of a better word, get the hell out of here. You are the one type of person that cannot be around Doflamingo. So, as to what that means, don't know.
Right.
Well, obviously that's something we're going to find out in the next chapter, hopefully.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, mentioned in last week's review, is that Oda needs to get through this flashback in its entirety, and then that way we can move on with finishing up this arc.
Yep.
That's so I'm gonna say this was I would give it a really good chapter. I'd say it was a good chapter.
Yeah, I would say above average for
Yeah.
One Piece's standards, I guess. I don't know.
So I guess the next thing I would have to say is
Probably
Naruto. Naruto, yeah, because I mean, honestly, there's not really much happened. It was a fighting chapter. It was a good fight. My only issue is, which is apparently an issue with others, is the fact that it's looking like they might rush through this fight a lot quicker than we originally thought, because it looks like they're getting ready for their final hits already.
Right.
Which doesn't make any sense, because why would they do that? The fight just began. I mean, is he really going to shortcut us on the fight in order to make sure he has enough time to finish everything else? I mean, we're already preparing ourselves for having to wait till Naruto the Last movie in order to get certain things finished up.
Right.
Like, we've already mentally prepared ourselves for that, so why turn around and shortcut the fight in order to give us finish everything else? Because honestly, in my opinion, when you look at this situation, you gotta think, what is gonna piss the fans off more? A long fight with barely any time to finish anything, and then having to wait till Naruto the Last movie in order to get most of our answers? Or shortchanging the fight to maybe to ending in next week's chapter, and then spending the remaining 3 chapters finishing everything up?
Yeah, the latter.
Honestly, the latter is what's going to piss people off.
Yeah.
If they shortchange this fight just so they can finish everything up, and then in turn make Naruto the Last be non-canon after everything we've already prepared ourselves for, that is going to piss people off, because this fight is already being shortchanged by the fact that they immediately announced an ending date for the manga as soon as the fight starts.
Right.
So that already shortchanges the fight. So the fact that there's a possibility they might even shorten it even more is just ludicrous.
Yeah. Before the ending of the chapter, because there's the one thing I want to point out, but
okay.
The other thing I want to point out is the scale of the two of their fighting at this point, which is a multi-Biju mode versus his. Well, it looks like a Kurama mode, but I'm sure there's other Bijus involved in it. But
he's using all the Chuck. You know, it's combined Biju mode Biju mode, but he's using it but he's taking the form of Kurama because that's his personal one.
Right, he has half of Kurama anyway, so it's like.
Well, no, remember the 2 halves got combined when they were in the Ten-Tails, and he's currently, trapped. So he only has a small portion of it, which was given.
No.
Yeah.
Remember, Obito took it from Minato and gave it back to Naruto? Or Black Zetsu took it from Minato and gave it back to Naruto?
No, he didn't give it back to Naruto.
Sure.
No, because that was when he took it and he gave it to Madara, so that way Madara could become a complete Sage of 6 Paths.
He couldn't give it to him. Remember, I'll explain the timeline real quickly. It was, as soon as Naruto got Biju ripped, Gaara took him over to Minato to give the other half of Kurama to him, right? And then Black Zetsu stole it. And then Obito took control of his body again. And when Kakashi warped Obito into the Kamui dimension, he gave it back to Naruto, and then Madara came in after. Remember, because Naruto had already been revived by the time Madara got his hands on the other Rinnegan. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's
Fuzzy.
Whatever. But I don't. No, because that was that whole because there's that whole thing about how he was in the other world trying to, while Sakura was trying to revive him, and then he went met up with the Sage of Six Paths, and then he awoke with the Sage of Six Paths power, and then left the dimension.
Yeah, but he had already been given the chakra. Remember, Obito took parts of each. He took parts of.
But he never had it because Black Zetsu had it.
Yeah, well,
and Black Zetsu already made him revive Madara.
Yeah,
he was prepared.
He took Kurama after he revived Madara, and then he gave it to Naruto along with parts. Well, Naruto already had part of the Bijus in him, and then Obito took part of the One Tails and the Eight Tails from Madara. Remember when he stabbed him and took part of that? So Obito actually had access to half of Kurama there, and gave part of One Tail, part of the Eight Tail, and half of Kurama to Naruto. And so that's why he had every single tail beast at that point, to some degree. But because it wasn't complete, he wasn't a Jubi Jinchuriki. That's the only thing. But so yeah, he does have he has the in half of Kurama. Well,
it doesn't really, at this point, it doesn't really matter because he has a piece of each of them, and he just picked that because that's what's familiar to him. That's why he took the form of Kurama, and of course, the friggin' tail beast bomb representing the Rasengan and the giant ass Shisano Chidori clashing like their original fight at the ballot at the last.
But anyway, what I was trying to say about the scale was, I got off track, but the scale was like in their clash before the Chidori Rasengan was much smaller than the scale of the Hashirama and Madara fight from the past. Because as you see, it's only until the Chidori and Rasengan or Rasen Biju bomb clash when we start to dwarf mountains. Meanwhile, Perfect Susanoo from Madara was doing just that.
Well, I guess because because at their level of power, a normal clash between them should actually obliterate that valley because of how much power they have. Mm-hmm. So I guess for the sake of making sure that they still have a battlefield to battle on,
right?
He only caused mass destruction when they used their strongest techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Because for exactly those reasons, he doesn't want the fight to end,
right?
Or he doesn't want the valley to be destroyed because if he wanted the valley to be destroyed, it would have happened already.
So I think they just did.
Well, I don't know.
You can see Hashirama's statues start to crumble away, after you see them clash.
But because and you know why that he did that?
Well, because they're probably both going to fade away so that they can create new ones eventually.
Yeah, they're going to be this fight's going to destroy the two statues, and then it's going to be replaced by a statue of Naruto and a statue of Sasuke.
Probably.
And the valley is going to be 10 times bigger.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I was trying to say with the scale. And then of course I really like the Chidori with the Perfect Susanoo. I thought it was cool.
Oh God, that looked. I cannot wait for this to be animated because it is going to look so much more badass.
Mm-hmm. Because
they've been doing the animation pretty well for Naruto.
Uh-huh.
In terms of the actual art and animation part. There's other issues, but because I know how well they're going to do this fight, and it's going to be awesome. And the fact is that in the fight, honestly, I think we're going to get a more proper fight in the anime.
Probably.
Because in the anime, at this point, since it's going to be nearly over, they're going to give... honestly, I could see them easily, turning this into like a 10-episode fight.
I wouldn't go that far, but...
Okay, not 5, but at least like a 5-episode fight. Which, in terms of manga chapters, would be like 10 or 15 chapters.
Yeah.
So, that right there tells me that it's going to be awesome. Because there's going to be a lot more techniques. There's going to be a lot more... the music, it's going to give it such great atmosphere.
Right.
And it's just going to be amazing.
Yeah,
so, but overall, I would say it was a pretty good chapter. I like the fact that it was focused mainly on the fight, since we don't have much time left.
Right, same.
But if I remember correctly, there was a slight flashback in there, which I predicted was going to happen.
Yep.
And it was of them as little kids. So expect them to have another flashback from about their previous fight.
Yeah.
I would expect at least that. Like King of Lightning, he was complaining about that, but I'm like, well, you need to understand something. We all expected this to happen.
Yeah.
It's just that the complaint is that now we know we don't have much time left. We don't want it to be wasted.
Mm-hmm.
But you knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
So, just let it happen. Because there's nothing our complaining will do.
No.
To change anything. I mean, I highly doubt we have enough time to mass enough fans, both in North America and internationally, to actually produce, basically enough. I don't know. I wouldn't want to say controversy, but there's nothing legitimately that we can do about it, because if we want to sit there and try to send a bunch of angry letters, or create something on change.org to try and get everybody to change what's going to happen.
Stop the flashbacks. Change.org.
No, actually, my theory was that if in my situation is if we could change something, we tell them to extend the manga at least another month or two, so that way we can have enough time to finish what we want to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And so that way they can give it a full fight, and then finish everything that we want to get done.
Uh-huh. So I guess that's probably about it for Naruto there.
Yeah. So, just to quickly recap, I said it was a pretty good chapter.
Yeah, it's decent to good.
Yeah.
Alright, so
Alright.
Toriko.
Toriko. I mean, I just don't even know what to say. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Just, holy shit. This, just to start this off, the size of this continent, and it's only the second largest continent in the gourmet world, is just enormous.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, the fact that this area is nearly 2 times the size of our Earth is just insane.
Yeah.
But honestly, one of the other, if Area 4 is supposed to be the biggest, and if Area 4 is the biggest, how big can it really be? I mean, are we friggin' gonna see a continent the size of Jupiter?
I doubt it, but...
I would hope not, but I mean, we knew that the Earth was, in Toriko was much bigger.
Oh, yeah.
But we didn't realize it was this much bigger.
Right.
I mean, friggin' King Kong got nothing on this.
Nope.
King Kong would be the fact that the insects are bigger, are almost probably comparable in, like, maybe, I don't know how to describe it. Maybe like half as big as Heracles, because that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
That they're maybe like half as big as Heracles. You gotta think that this, Bambina has to be like insanely big. Has to be insanely big.
Yeah, probably.
And if he is that big as we think he is, oh my god. Now, the one thing I don't get is the fact that they believe that some people think that this is going to be a zebra-focused.
Might be.
Like, they think that, Zebra's going to be the one to take on Bambina. And I'm like, really? Just because of the whole thing, he was the first one to lash out or something. I don't know exactly what people's reasoning are, but they feel that because he's, of what he did in this chapter, they feel he's going to be the one to take on Bambina.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
I highly doubt that just one person is going to fight Bambina. It'll probably be like all four
I
of them.
told you this. I said it's more likely it's going to be all four of them.
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
Because especially now with Bambina shaping up to be like not only dwarfing Heracles' power, but his size.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's just scary to believe. But of course, another impressive thing would have to be Zebra's laser voice. Like,
yeah.
Wow.
Zebra, let's fucking go.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see because I mean, more realistically, it's going to be all of them. But I also, I want to see some of the other techniques that the others have learned.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of Toriko, he didn't really learn too much. He just reached a higher level of Kugi.
Right.
At least as far as we can see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I found interesting in this chapter was the design of the monkey was like the mouth was similar to that of a Nitro.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is that it already had permission to hunt them.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was also a weird thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, I think so too.
Especially since this continent is so huge. Like, how makes you think, what the hell, like, how quick do these animals have to be to go quickly swing over to where the king is and ask him, these guys just entered the outskirts of the continent. Can I predate on them? Can I hunt them?
Uh-huh.
And then for him to be like, sure, why not?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, that just... Honestly, now that we know that this continent's going to be much bigger, just the sheer fact that we know of the size, this is going to be a longer one.
Probably. Which is good, because pacing should slow down just a bit, I think.
Well, yes, there's a rush, but, I mean, now he could also just do the cop-out and skip, their travels saying, nothing really happened. But because along the way there's definitely going to be, animals who get permission to hunt them.
Uh-huh.
So...
Yeah. It's not good for world building if he just kind of skips around
over the world.
Here and there.
Like, there's no point in building your world big if you're just going to skip over it.
Right, and it looks really nice, too. Like, the picture of, like, the huge, like, I don't need, like, that's not the whole continent either. Like, the part of that continent looked really nice.
Now, the other interesting thing is the fact that since there's no civilization, they have no way of knowing where the true location of the ingredient is. They just say, hey, look, let's go to this tree because it's supposedly there.
Uh huh. Right. Well, it's gonna be really gonna be interesting on how they find pear, and of course it's a soup, so it's got to be like.
We don't. Yeah, it's a soup, but God knows how it's going to present itself.
Maybe it's gonna be like stored in like a gigantic like volcano or something. It like erupts like pear, like and it only erupts like once everything, and you have to like prepare it a certain way, like around the volcano.
Of course.
But then again, they don't have Komatsu, so how are they gonna do that?
Well, we got Mach 30,000. That's who. What? Because I don't think he's done. And remember, there's always that possibility of you know who coming in to help prepare it. You know.
Please, Mitsatoshi. Do it.
Honestly, what would you say if that was the case? If he just shows up and like, hey, I'm gonna cook this for you since Komatsu can't.
I will stand up and I will pace around my house at least once. The outside of my house at least once going, Stajun.
Of course, that is just.
I am a big fan of Starjun. I will go nuts if he shows up and does that.
It'd be like, I got you, bros. I got you.
Uh-huh.
You brought Mitra air. I'm gonna help you get pear. Which, hey, that rhymes.
Uh-huh. Oh my gosh! Don't tease me like that.
It's not a tease because it's not even a glimmer right now of that happening.
True.
So, overall, I mean, it was a very simple chapter, but I still thought it was just really good.
Yeah.
Because of all the world building.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a good world building chapter, definitely. Yeah, definitely good.
So, what's the next? Well, I believe.
Yeah, I guess that'll be it for this part of the section.
Concludes our dual reviews of manga chapters.
Okay, guys. It's time for Shokugeki no Souma, chapter 89. So, as you probably might guess, this is kind of a week behind, almost. Even though, as of this recording, 90 has not been released. I'm doing this purposely where I'm keeping myself about a week behind schedule so that, so that we don't fall behind here and have weeks where we don't have Shokugeki. That's not preferable in my opinion. So I'm gonna kind of stay a week behind because release schedule is kind of shaky. So we last left off where Souma won a complete victory, and it starts off, with this guy with all the these card symbols, like the spade, the jack, or whatever, the spades, the diamonds, hearts, and clubs, and he's wearing that on his clothes, which is kind of interesting. And he tears up the contract that said that Soma had to quit being a cook because he didn't have to do it. And Subaru gets real mad, and he's like, "There's no way, like you could have won." And then Soma, of course, he smiles at him and says, "Just try my dish if you don't agree." And this part's a little disturbing. After the flashback, we see a flashback where he is able to copy dishes like just by looking at the recipe or picture, and then he can just kind of recreate it at 12, and then he eventually outshines his dad in this fashion, and so he's ultimately like shunned by his parents because of his ability and because of the way he cooks, which is whatever. And so we see a little bit more where he starts winning, and then he gets employed under this one. I can't remember his name, but like to me, he's drawn like a younger Shinomiya. So it's like I don't know. It throws me off. I don't know. I forget his name, but he says, "Serve under me. I'll let you go berserk as much as you want." And then all the knives come up from the knives that he had stolen from his victims during the Shokugekis, and everyone kind of is in a mad rush to grab their tools back. And then this one girl comes up to him and says, this is something I got when my mother died, and so it's a memento. And so what we see is that Soma had saved people like that, which is really cool. So, Subaru's, he's saying like he's not going to cook anymore. He's leaving Totsuki, and he says he's nothing to be proud of. And then Soma gives him a Maka chop right over the head, uh, and his face in that panel is like brilliant. Soma's. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Bleach's art style with the face whenever Ichigo and others are like confused or is part of a comedic moment. They have like this face that Kubo draws, and I think the author of Shokugeki does something very similar, and it's hilarious. And so, Soma says, it would be meaningless if you quit now. And Takumi is the last one, and he says it's yours, Soma, obviously, and he states that he's not going to lose to Subaru next time, and so he says that he's going to take his Mezzaluna back from, or Mezzaluna, I guess is how it would be pronounced in Italian, maybe. He says that he's going to take it back from Soma, and we get another panel of Soma smiling. He says like, people who aim to be professional cooks are just a bunch of helplessly sore losers, and the reason is because every time you lose, you look to improve your cooking like tenfold or whatever. And so he kind of teaches Subaru a lesson here. Says like this is what it means to be a chef, because even if you lose, like the next day you're gonna have to open up your restaurant again, and so you can't just quit cooking just because you screw up once. And he has his moment where he understands that someone's right, and he says, "My hardened heart is melting away." And then we see this absolutely repulsive picture of Subaru with like this long hair, and oh my gosh, and he's like naked, and oh god, yeah, fuck that panel. Even the attitude chick she's attitude chick again. She's not, I guess I could call her the tsundere chick, not the attitude chick now, because she's completely let go, but now she's even repulsed, and the rest are just like what? And it's basically the chapter until Soma talks to Erina once, and he says there's one match left, and she says I'm still far above you. So that's the chapter, ending off with the split panel of Kurokiba and Hayama, both looking pretty cool. Hayama actually doesn't look like a girl in this panel, even though his fingernails look fucking feminine still. When I first saw Hayama, I thought it was a chick because of the way he was drawn. But honestly, I mean, now I can see why, he's a male. I can see it a little bit better. I don't know. It's just the way sometimes that the author draws Hayama makes it look like a female. But in certain panels like this last one, it definitely looks more manly. And of course, Kurokiba is already looking not quite in his full-on insane mode, but he's raring to go. So I can't wait for the fight. I guess the Shokugeki or whatever you want to call it. And so yeah, see you guys next week for that. All right, so next we're gonna go into Bleach, and this chapter is 600. So congratulations, Kubo, on serializing 600 chapters. So we start off with the hole in Sanjimaru's head, and the miracle is saying why did you kill him there? And the sniper says was there really anybody that hasn't died right away against us? And so they think they've won, but all of a sudden the environment starts to twist around, and we finally see, Senjumaru again, showing that she in fact is not dead. And she says, "This is a fake soul palace created to welcome you, the real palace." And you know, it's hidden there by Osho, and we see Osho come out. Well, before that, we get that another panel with her smiling, saying, "Is there hidden by Osho?" That's what it is, and it's a great panel because once again it's Senjumaru, and Senjumaru is pretty solid as a character. And so Osho comes out and says, "Did you give it away already?" And the cage, quote unquote, made it in time, and we see the other chick, the chick that slims down when she cooks, and so we actually see the cage, and the sniper tries to shoot it, and it doesn't break, and then like shooting the spaces between the branches will get in the way. So they're saying the girl says that she cooks. She says, "I cook to create life, and I produce the ingredients inside me," which is kind of weird. Like, I mean, it makes sense why she slims down after that, but it's just kind of weird. So, lastly, Oetsu comes in. He has his Zanpakuto dipped in water or oil. It's not known right now, but because it could be oil, obviously, because of tempering, but it also could be water to cool down whatever type of Zanpakuto he has in there, which could be a hint, which a lot of people are saying it's Yamamoto's Zanpakuto, as it looks similar. But let me tell you something. Like, pretty much all the katana have that design. It might look like it. I don't know, but if it is, holy fuck! But it doesn't make a difference because Yuha Bak has his Bankai, so I don't think his Shikai is really gonna matter in the long run. But so Oetsu is here, and it's just slow fry can't pass, according to the Panda translation. And that's the chapter summary. And I thought the chapter was a good chapter because, it's good that Senjumaru is not dead. And I'm sure a lot of people are complaining that she's not, but it's really good because, once again, Squad Zero was hyped up to be very powerful. They were hyped to be stronger than the entirety of the Soul Society, the 5 of them together or whatever. And so there's no reason why Senjumaru should be dead so quickly. Also, we don't see Tenjiro anywhere, even though he was right there. And so I think he's doing something else. He must be doing something monumental for us to not show him. And another thing is that in the Panda translation, Senjumaru was said to be a he. Now, I've heard this is a mistranslation, though, and is actually a she. I always figured it was a she. I had no reason to believe otherwise. If it really is a he, then damn you, Kubo, because I don't like it then. But uh, like Manga Stream didn't translate it as a guy, so I'm assuming that it's not a he. I'm pretty sure Senjumaru is a she, and that's pretty much it. Uh, Oetsu is gonna fight them, and I'm sure he's gonna kick some major ass until the Miracle gets involved, probably, because I have a feeling that the Miracle is gonna be the most powerful of them, just based on the fact that it's the Miracle. It's probably gonna be something like overblown in terms of power or ability. Alright, so lastly, what we have is Shingeki no Kyojin, or Attack on Titan. And to be honest, like usual, I'm not really going to focus on much. I have 2 main points to focus on in this chapter because the rest I just don't feel are worth it for a monthly. First main point is about Erwin, and that's the fact that he is seemingly now saying that he regrets doing this, saying that this would have been better in the hands of the old monarch.
And to me, this is absolutely fucking retarded. I don't understand this one bit because we knew that humanity could not survive as long as the monarch and the military police were in power. We knew that. And now Irwin is saying that, oh, I regret doing that? No. No. Change always has its consequences. And you have to be willing to accept those consequences before things get better. That's just how it is, Irwin. Get your shit together, you know? And that's it for that, first part. I mean, that's all I had to say on that part because it's simple. Now the second part, as you all know, is the ending. Holy fuck. Um so Aaron's dad was a Titan, took the blood of somebody from Historia's family, the Rice family, from a Titan who was in the Rice family no less, and injected it directly into Aaron's body through a syringe, and then Aaron eats his father. And I'm pretty sure that is what gives him the control over other Titans, is the fact that he ate Aaron's dad, which who may have also been controlling type. We don't know. So this was the big reveal at the end of the chapter. And I gotta say, this was nuts. So first things first, Aaron's dad is a Titan. That's confirmed. And holy fuck, there was somebody in the Rice family who was a Titan as well. And when Aaron was being shown the memories, when he was touched by somebody by Historia's father and Historia herself, he was looking at everything through his father's eyes, which means that he absorbed some of his memories. So this essentially makes the whole basement thing even more of a, you know, something that we have to look forward to because now we know that pretty much everything regarding the Titans is probably in that basement in terms of knowledge. And, who knows when that's going to come. I'm assuming it's going to come at the very end of the series or close to it because it's probably going to contain a way to counter the Titans. And obviously now we know where Aaron's dad is, and what I was fearing in the beginning of the series was that Aaron's dad was going to be the final villain or something of that nature. And I'm so glad it wasn't because it would have been too cliched. So that's probably it for this chapter. It was a nuts chapter due to the ending, and so I don't know what to say. I mean, I can't wait for next issue to see what Aaron's reaction is and how he approaches everything from here on. So that's that'll be it for our manga section this week.